What'd you pick? Can I see?
Tomatoes from the garden?
Ooh, are those tomatoes? Oh, thank you.
Yum, we're gonna have to put them on our salad tonight. Hey.
Whenever you're ready.
Hey you guys, Erin here at Eat Move Rest, and today we are talking all things sprouts and sprouting. So we've got our lovely planter garden here in our backyard, and a common question or complaint we get is, what if I don't have the space or the knowledge for starting my own garden? What can I do? And I'm here to tell you that you can actually grow a garden on your countertop without soil in a minimum of 2 or 3 days. So sprouting is cost effective, space effective, nutrient dense, saves on water. What is not to love? Dusty and I have dabbled in sprouting over the years, but we recently had a massive resurgence in interest thanks to Doug Evans, who is seriously the sprouting master. He has a brand new sprouting book out, and we are here because we interviewed him today. I'm not the expert, Dusty's not the expert, but Doug Evans most definitely is. All I can say is that he inspired us to start sprouting in our own kitchen, growing a garden on our countertops, because it is so nutritious, delicious, cost effective. I mean, you can take literally a tablespoon of seeds and turn them into cups upon cups of nutrient dense sprouts. Not only to garnish salads, but to make entire meals out of. There's so much more nutrient dense and protein dense than you could ever imagine.
84% is deficient or depleted in micronutrients and phytonutrients and fiber. That you can grow your own food for under $1 a serving and get proteins and get medium chain fatty acids and get carbohydrates and get prebiotics and probiotics and vitamin C.
So thanks to our abundance of newfound information from Doug Evans, coupled with our abundance of supply from Sproutman.com, we are sprouting masters in the making. So big shout out to Sproutman.com for sponsoring this video. I recently got on their website after hearing about it from Doug Evans, and I purchased their starter kit. So it's really important where you get your sprouting seeds from, and Doug talks a little bit more about that in depth and why. I'm probably fully stocked for at least the next couple of years, no joke. So if you guys are interested in getting your own arsenal of sprouting seeds, the best of the best, certified organic, non-GMO, tested and certified, then definitely check out Sproutman.com. I will link them below in the description, and you can use our discount code EATMOVEREST for a sweet deal. So definitely get started. My personal favorites are broccoli sprouts, just because they are ridiculously nutrient dense and taste amazing. But check out the starter kit. I can't say enough great things about it. So what is sprouting, and how do I do it at home? Sprouting is taking any seed or nut or grain or bean and soaking it in water to unleash its inner potential. So we find that the easiest way to sprout is simply to take a mason jar and put 1 to 2 tablespoons of whatever seed or bean into the jar along with filtered water. So you're going to want to soak those for about 8 to 10 hours. Usually I just say to do it overnight before you go to bed, and then in the morning you will drain them. Rinse, drain, rinse, drain. I say maybe 3 to 5 times, and then you'll want to turn the jar upside down and let that excess liquid drain out at a 45-degree angle so that the sprouts aren't oversaturated with water. So you'll do that probably 2 to 3 times a day, or think every 4 or 5 hours. Drain and rinse, and let them soak. And then you're going to do that 3 to 4 days, and you will have a sprout. So you can let the sprouts grow as long as you want, but 3 to 4 days is probably about how long I like to go with them. And then I will store them in the refrigerator. Usually I'll give them one last rinse and set them upside down for a few minutes. I will pop them inside a Tupperware that's lined with a paper towel and lightly close the lid with a little bit of breathing room to go for airflow to flow in and out. And I top them on my salads. Usually when I take them out of the refrigerator, I will give them a quick rinse and then put them on my salads. So we have tons of different sprouts that we're putting on our salads. So like I said, not just a garnish, but almost as the salad itself. And they taste amazing. They're nutrient dense. Like we said before, cost effective. So definitely give them a try and try to consume them, I would say, within 3 to 4 days once they go to the refrigeration phase, just to make sure that they're the freshest possible. I recommend using sprouting jars. You can also use a bag or a tray, but we like to go with the jars most of the time so we can see our sprouts. So this is a breathable hemp sprouting bag, so you can just put the seeds in there and soak and drain and rinse. It's breathable all the way around, which is one benefit, but I don't love that you can't see them inside of it, but it's still a great option. So this is step one. This is simply the soaking phase. I've got lentils soaking. They have not yet started to sprout. After the overnight soaking of 8 to 10 hours, then this is the sprouting phase. So I've got this mesh strainer and I've got them tilted upside down at a 45-degree angle to drain off excess liquid. And you can see that some of these alfalfa sprouts have actually started to sprout little tails. So I'll keep draining and rinsing every 3 to 4 hours and then do that 3 to 4 days. So I just grabbed these sprouts out of the refrigerator. This is a broccoli blend. And I literally started with maybe 1.5 tablespoons of seeds, and it made probably about 2 to 3 cups worth of sprouts. So these are actually pea shoots or microgreens, which are even a step further than sprouts. They're just simply a little bit bigger and greener. So again, love the pea shoots, love the broccoli sprouts. You guys, this is such a simple process and you're really gonna love it.
This is like the ultimate food hack. People are always asking, what's your favorite superfood? What's one thing that I can do that I can incorporate that will change my overall health? I would say sprouts. Again, with how nutrient dense they are, how easy they are to make, and how affordable they are, sprouts are it, for sure. So Aaron and I are now gonna interview Doug Evans. Doug is the ultimate sprout guru. He's had restaurants, he's invented juice machines, he's done it all, and we're going to interview him today and learn all about sprouting. We've got Doug Evans here, the sprout man himself. We have followed you for years. We've heard you multiple times on a few of our favorite podcasts. You've got a new book out. Maybe tell us more about yourself, who you are, and how you got started.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in New York City eating street food, junk food, processed food, and food was so scarce when I was growing up that we used it as a reward system.
Oh, wow.
So I was totally fixated. And then, you know, when I turned 17, I joined the U.S. Army to learn discipline, to serve my country, and to save my money. And I really believed that when I went into the military, I wanted to get discipline and I wanted to do the Army College Fund. And after I got out of the Army, I was in the 82nd Airborne. I was no longer fit for any sort of academia classroom being indoors. And the Army set me up with a lot of information and a lot of energy, and I was healthy, but I was what they say, healthy on the outside, but not healthy on the inside.
Right.
Yeah, we know about that.
Yeah. And so I started to obsessively work. So I was doing anything I could to make money because I wanted to be able to, you know, have a family and live a healthy life. And so I worked, and the closest thing that I could find that I was passionate about was graphic design. So I made this journey from graphic design to computer graphics and then to digital printing. And then in my early 30s, my aunt got diabetes. And I had to, and there was no Google. I didn't know what diabetes was, but then the next thing I knew, they chopped off her feet below her ankles.
Oh, no.
And then my uncle got heart disease, and then he died. And then my mother got stomach cancer, and then she died. And then my father got heart disease, and he died. And then my brother had the first of 3 strokes and a heart attack.
Oh,
So I could keep going about the exposure to chronic illness that I was presented to. But for me, I thought that I was genetically cursed. Like it was a real issue that I was going to die and that life didn't matter. And by that time, I had made enough money that I could be nice and fat and sick. So I was 30, I was 36 pounds overweight. I was sluggish. I was eating a lot of junk food and processed food. And then they say when the student is ready, the teacher will come. I met a woman who was a vegan. I had never heard the term vegan before. I thought it was like slang or short for vegetarian.
Right.
And so, and, you know, she was very kind, non-judgmental, and her sister had died of leukemia. Her mother died of cancer. And we really connected on the level. And she became my first exposure to the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And in a 2-week period, we went from I went from junk food, processed food, to vegetarian, to vegan, to raw food vegan in a 2-week period, including like slipping in a juice fast along the way, a 3-day juice fast, which I only now remember that I did that because I didn't even remember back then.
That's a lot quicker than we did it. It took us probably a solid year or so.
Oh yeah, it took me 2 years to even go vegan. So boy, you're setting some land speed records there for.
And I remember hearing a talk by an early raw food guy, Paul Nissan, at the Big Apple Vegetarian Center, talking about, you know, the raw food diet, and I literally thought like there was no way, it didn't make sense. And then I read, you know, early books by David Wolfe and Gabriel Cousins. And these people, I was like, wow, they can do it. This seems like it makes sense. The way I did it was I found my favorite foods, right? I loved watermelon. I loved grapes. I loved cherries. I loved carrots. And I would just eat as much as the food that I wanted until I was no longer hungry or was full. And it was literally almost like 12-step recovery, that I looked at the other food as literally detrimental to my health. And I had this philosophy that everything I put in my mouth was a life or death decision. My partner, my business partner at the time, Denise, we set up a little cooperative-like setup, a community setup in our loft in Chinatown. And we said, okay, well, you know, we can't have people ringing our doorbell at 10 o'clock at night. Like, I think New York City is ready. So we opened up our first little lifestyle company called Organic Avenue in New York City in early 2000s. We did cold pressed organic juices in glass bottles. We didn't use sweeteners like agave. We would make our own date paste. We would make our own ferments. We would sprout our own. And this grew.
Was this doing very well in New York City? Were you making money? Were you able to survive? How expensive was this to do it so well?
I mean, for 10 years, I look back, we opened up 10 stores all over Manhattan. We were paying rent in one of our stores $25,000 a month.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And there was all sorts of insurance and liabilities and workers' comp and disability and unemployment and fees and taxes and permits. So I look back and say for 10 years, we subsidized New York City to have raw, organic, vegan food. And like that's what we did.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
So tell me then, when and how did sprouts become the thing for you? I mean, you were sprouting, you were juicing, you were doing these things, but now, again, your new book is out. Tell me why sprouts.
So I moved to the Mojave Desert, to a little town east of Joshua Tree. So I'm in the desert, and you know, I have a nice setup. You know, I'm in my yurt office right now, and we have hot springs on the land, and we have palm trees, and you know, we have fig trees and date trees and mulberry trees, but we had to plant them or transplant them. So when I moved here, the realization was, not only am I in the desert, I'm in a food desert. So what am I going to eat? Right. I'm not going to eat the little cottontail bunny rabbits running around or the lizards or rattlesnakes. So I was like, what am I going to eat? And then in my 20 plus year raw vegan journey, I always knew about sprouts. I would always eat sprouts whenever I saw. Like if I went to a good health food store and they had the crunchy sprouts and the pea shoots and the sunflower sprouts and the I'd just like buy them and that would be like my on-the-go meal.
Sure.
When I came here, I was like, okay, I'm just going to sprout.
Yeah.
I'm just going to start sprouting, because I did not want to be in the car 3 hours a day going back and forth to Whole Foods in Palm Springs.
No,
right?
no.
Made no sense. And within 1 month, 50% of my calories, 50% of the volume I was consuming were sprouts that I was growing in 1 cubic foot
Right.
on the countertop.
It's just crazy. I mean, most people just see them as like a little garnish on their salad or sub sandwich.
Right. But you're making meals out of sprouts.
I was making meals. I was making snacks. I was making salads. I was making entrees. I was feeding other people. I was feeding my cleaning staff with it. Before I wanted to spread the gospel, I wanted to do some research.
Right.
And I was exposed to literally hundreds of white papers, peer-reviewed, double-blind, placebo-tested studies. And the more I researched about sprouts, the more I was convinced unequivocally that sprouts solved so many issues. And I was dumbfounded, and I couldn't believe that everyone wasn't sprouting. Like, why weren't sprouts like the topic? Because they require the least amount of water.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And, you know, we get a lot of people who say, well, I don't have room for a garden. And it's like, anyone can grow this garden on their countertop, you know, in a high-rise.
Exactly. And so I intellectualized this, and then I started to take action. And then I went through seeing, what could I get out of the sprouts? And so then I said, look, I never, went to college. I never wrote essays, but I said and I looked at the books that were on Amazon. I bought a bunch of the books, and I was like, these are all old school. We are in the age of the internet. We're in the age of advanced communication. So I went to New York. I pitched one publisher, and I said, look, I really want to write this book on sprouts, and I want to do how to sprout, why to sprout, what to sprout, and then what to do with the sprouts. And then, because I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist, I'm going to interview these doctors. And so I made a punch list, and literally I got Dr. Dean Ornish, Dr. Joel Kahn, Dr. Mercola, Dr. Oz, Dr. Axe, right? And some of these people, the interesting thing is, some of these people were not even plant-based, right? It was interesting that what the common thread that pulled all these people together is they all love sprouts.
Oh, right.
They all love sprouts. And that just gave me even more, fire in the belly that this information needed to come out there. And so then I set up the Sprout Lab, where I started to sprout using jars, using trays, using bags, using soil, using alternative sprout mediums. And I started to order every organic seed I could get. And I started to take notes, and that became the essence of the book. And then I collaborated with Lita Scheintaub, who did Oprah's recipe book and Layla Ali's recipe book, and cut a deal with her to do the recipes for our book.
Yeah, we're going to have to dive into those recipes, because that's just next level.
Aaron and I, again, we've been on this plant-based journey since we've been married, probably about 7 years now. And when we have new people coming to this diet, to this lifestyle, not only are they overwhelmed by the amount of food that we eat, the amount of raw food, but now when we're starting to mention sprouts, their head really starts to spin. So I think your book and having recipes is so crucial to actually making it accessible for people.
Right.
I mean, I was really surprised that my book, it's been out since April 7th. So the beginning of, this pandemic. It's now in its third printing already.
Wow.
And my entire book tour was canceled. Right. We were supposed to have a launch party in New York City in Union Square with Chef Jean George, and that got moved into a live.
Yeah.
And so the fact that the book is sprouting and growing and blossoming and replicating is not about me. It's about the message, right? That you can grow your own food for under $1 a serving and control it and get proteins and get medium chain fatty acids and get carbohydrates and get prebiotics and probiotics and vitamin C. And for your viewers that may be unfamiliar with sprouting, I'll give like an example.
Sure.
If you were to take, like, I think it's pretty well known that vegetables are good for you, right? 84% of America is not getting the amount of recommended servings of fruits and vegetables. So we have a population majority, vast majority, 84% is deficient or depleted in micronutrients and phytonutrients and fiber. So this question about where are you getting your protein from is a ridiculous question because we're over proteined. The question should be, where are you getting your fiber from? And so with that knowledge, right? So there's general information that says vegetables are good for you. Let's just take one vegetable, a lentil. So lentils are good for you. They're a staple of diets around the world. People like lentils.
We love them.
Right? The difference between like a cooked lentil and a raw lentil is that when you sprout the lentil, it doubles in volume, right? So it's just a bonus. You get twice as much.
Right.
The second thing, it is enzymatically alive, right? So the enzymes, the life force inside, they're still growing. It is alive. And when you sprout that, because it's alive, you end up tripling the vitamin C.
Oh, wow.
It's like all of a sudden the lentil, when you sprout it on like the second or third day, you are tripling the vitamin C.
That's one thing I was curious about, because I also was thinking about like chia and flax seeds and how you put those in your smoothies for your healthy omega-3 fatty acids. So does that hold true when you sprout them? Or are they
100%? Yeah. When you sprout chia, you make it more bioavailable. You increase the fiber. You increase the soluble and insoluble fiber. And as it grows, the chia will turn green, which it means it's going through photosynthesis. So you're actually creating the antioxidant of chlorophyll, in the sprouted chia. So
does the
sprouting
fat content change then as it sprouts?
The interesting thing is the amount of fat that's in there is almost finite. So as the sprout grows, you're going to get more fiber, you're going to get more vitamin C, you'll get more antioxidants. You're not going to get more fat because especially the magical thing about sprouts is that they contain within them the intelligence to go from a dormant plant organism into a active germinating live organism. But there's certain things that do not increase. So when we talk about like the anti-cancer compound glucoraphanin, the precursor to sulforaphane, every seed has a finite amount. So when they say that broccoli sprouts have 50 to 100 times the amount of sulforaphane of mature broccoli, that's because as the broccoli gets bigger, you're getting more fiber, you're getting more of the other things, but you're not going to get more of the glucoraphanin. I don't believe that you're going to get more fat in that period. The fats and other parts develop in the plant journey once you get in the ground, once it gets fertilizer, and it grows into a mature vegetable. So the insight, if we were to pull back, and this is an insight, at one point in time, seeds went into the ground and turned into fruits and vegetables, but they took weeks or months or years, right? And there was no shortage of land or water or sun or
Yeah.
even time. People had the time to properly garden and to farm,
Yep.
right? So now, where people are living in small confined,
Yep.
situations, and they don't have soil, they don't have fertilizer, they don't have a green thumb, we've relegated and outsourced our food supply chain to big corporations that are providing us things that are most profitable for them, not the things that are most healthy.
Right.
People are very disconnected to their food.
Totally.
So my insight, which drove the book, which is driving the success of the book, is that seeds were intended to grow into mature plants, fruits and vegetables in weeks and months and years.
Yeah.
But nature provided this option
Yeah.
that made seeds edible, and
Right.
it made sprouts edible. So
Yep.
when you take a seed, it's edible. You
Yeah.
take a seed and you sprout it, it becomes more bioavailable, more nutritious,
Right.
more filled with these antioxidants, and
Yeah.
it happens in days. So
Right.
here's the magical survival food, the desert food, the urban food, the
Yeah.
food for everyone. It's that you get to eat sprouts,
Right.
right, in days
With minimal
and
effort and minimal time. It's
minimal
crazy.
time. Yeah.
And
Minimal
even
water.
from just purely a digestive standpoint, we just did a video on bloating and indigestion. A lot
Yeah.
of people wonder, oh, I get gassy or bloating when I do like my grains and beans. And
Yeah.
even just purely for better digestion, soak them. And, one step ahead of above that would be sprouting them, right? Because
Right.
they do have like that protective coating on them.
The phytic acid
Sure.
and the anti-nutrition,
Yep.
which gets eliminated and reduces, because that protective layer is designed to keep the seed kind of whole and ready to go
Yeah.
until it's in an ideal state of germination,
Right.
and then it's off to the races and it's ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a bird poop lands on your shoulder and there's a whole intact seed in there sometimes.
Right.
If that were to land in the ground, it could probably still be protected enough to sprout.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's
Yeah.
someone once explained that process of these birds and these animals eating these seeds. They're protected through the digestive tract. They're pooped out and they sit in the ground there where until it rains, they have the perfect growing conditions. And like you said, that protective coating, that phytic acid then has the fertilizer from the poop, the water, and this is how nature, I mean, it's crazy how this happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, seeds want to sprout,
Yeah.
right? As Michael Pollan wrote in The Botany of Desire, the first book that I ever had of his, it's like the apple is sweet so that people eat it so that the seeds can replicate. Like,
Right.
who's controlling who,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very real, but there's so much about sprouts that people don't know. And if we were to back up, it's very easy. And when you take people into your kitchen, I don't think I'm gonna go in the kitchen with you.
No.
I could, but when you go in the kitchen, you look to sprout, you need a jar, you need
Yeah.
some water, you
Yeah.
could get a special fancy
Got our
screen.
jars here.
Yeah, so you got some jars.
We haven't used the bag yet, but
Yeah, I like to see the seeds sprouting.
Sure.
But it's very, very simple. And there's a chapter in my book called Junkyard Dog,
Yeah.
where I sterilized all these items that would normally go into recycle. And
Yep.
most people don't even realize recycling is really downcycling, because
Right.
Yeah.
it's not really being used in the same category the like. But I would take things and find everything I could to add seeds, and I felt like a magician.
Right.
Yeah.
That I was just like adding water, adding this, and almost like I'm juggling 100 things.
Yep.
And I got into a groove
Yeah.
where I was able to literally spend 5 minutes nurturing my 6 sprouting jars and my 4 trays,
Right.
and my terracotta potter for the chia seeds. And I was doing the nurturing like 5 minutes a day, and
Yeah.
I was getting, a lot of dollars worth
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
of food.
Sure.
And then like the fun part is when you um detoxify
Yeah.
from added fat, added sugar,
Yeah.
added salt,
Right.
right? So my diet, is virtually eliminated salts, oils,
Yep.
and sugars
Sure.
that do not come from whole food plant-based.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, when you stop eating those things, which just mess with the brain,
Yep.
right? The addictive behavior of the brain,
Yep.
then all of a sudden you're at a level of peace where, I eat like sprouted pea shoots. They're like so sweet to me
Right.
that I end up eating like the whole bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
kind of recalibrates your taste buds when
It
you cut all
does.
the excess crud out of your
It
diet.
does. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's, if we come along, people say, "Oh, I love my meat," or "I love this," or "I love that," and I really used to like butt heads with people.
Yeah.
I used to be. I was never like the militant vegan, but I
Right.
was definitely a proselytizer.
Yeah.
And now, I'm like, do whatever you want,
Yeah.
but add sprouts to it. And
Totally.
they go, what do
Yeah.
you mean? And I was like, well, you can add sprouts to breakfast, lunch, or dinner,
Yep.
or they could be your breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Right.
Mhm.
And you could add them to soups, salads, entrees. You could juice them, you could dry them, you can make them snacks.
Yeah.
And if you start to add sprouts to salads or to a meal or to a burger, you
Yeah.
won't even taste them.
Right.
Uh-huh.
But you will feel them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like you will start to feel them, and
Right.
then you will start to feel better, and
Yep.
then you're going to shift your microbiome, and then you're going to want more.
Right.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
The thing that really sold me, like you said, is there's only a finite amount of whatever nutrient, like sulforaphane,
Yep.
within each seed. So it's literally like a multivitamin that you've grown yourself, like a living multivitamin with just like a concentrated source of like hyper-nourishment, like
Right.
mega nutrition. And to think about every seed, every broccoli sprout I'm eating is like a whole head of broccoli worth of nutrition for my
Right.
body. That's
It-
what really like
It's
lit
a
the
hack.
fire for me and got me going again.
It's like the food hack. We all want hacks, right? This
yeah.
to me seems like the ultimate food hack.
Yeah, I mean, it's an insight
Yeah.
that you don't need to wait weeks or months or years. You don't need to go to the grocery store. You don't have to wait. And even when you go to the grocery store and you're buying vegetables, you
Yeah.
have no idea where they came from, how long they're on the truck,
Yeah.
whether, what kind of manure was fertilizing them or the like. The idea that you could get sprouts and seeds that were grown specifically for sprouting, tested for a high germination rate,
Yep.
and then, like the seeds from Sprout Man or from True Leaf Market or Sprout People, these
Yeah.
people have been selling sprouting seeds, for decades plus,
Sure.
and they have a whole system in place to make sure you're getting seeds that have high germination, that will sprout, that are tested for pathogens.
Yeah.
So there's all these reasons to do it, that the idea that you can actually, it's a mind-boggling idea,
Yeah.
but the idea that you can take control
Yeah.
of your food destiny
uh-huh.
for literally under $1 a serving,
Right.
and it just takes the mental awareness or the conversation to say, do I want to be programmed
Yeah.
by some corporation that is profiting by having me eating preservatives and additives and GMOs and all these things that
Yep.
they're putting in fancy packages? To me, if it's advertised, then I'm skeptical.
Totally.
Right. I
Right?
know that was, when I first started to look at why my digestion was so poor before I
Yeah.
went plant-based. I was looking for more fiber, but I
Yeah.
would shop the grocery store aisles and Fiber One cereal, there it was in big bold letters, and then Fiber One bars and Fiber One yogurt. So that was my idea of finding fiber and trying to get my digestion figured out. But it's like the real fiber doesn't have a nutrition label on it, or even it's not in a package even, other than the fruit peel or the skin on the vegetable.
Right.
Yeah. You guys, have you read Fiber Fueled by Dr. B?
We just listened to his podcast and it was phenomenal. I mean,
I actually just also messaged him because this is the main, Aaron and I do some coaching. We host retreats. We get around people as much as we possibly can. And we're finding that fiber is the real issue. Like you said, we're over proteined, we're under fibered. And so we're now on a new mission. And I'd like to get him on our channel.
Yeah. Well, he's a friend. I'm happy to make the introduction. So email me. I'll make that intro to you guys.
That'd be great.
So anyway, so I think the notion is today, right? If I want to leave like parting words with people, is that, health is a choice.
Sure.
Right? It's a choice. And sometimes it's just easier to be comfortable and do the thing. But at some point, being comfortable will lead to being uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
But if you were to choose when you were uncomfortable, whether it's white knuckling or sucking it up or having one meal a day of sprouts or adding sprouts to it, the benefit will pay off like 1,000-fold over. Like you'll start to feel lighter and fresher, and it's good for the finances.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people are not focusing on how important it is, right, to maintain healthy weight, right, is not that you want to judge someone and say, oh, you're fat, right? And we don't want to shame people for being overweight. What we do want to do is make them aware that being overweight can lead to serious health consequences. That obesity can lead to diabetes and heart disease and other things, and that you can change. Like if you're worried about what people think, that's a whole separate part, and that's where you want to surround yourself in a community of people who want to be better, who want to be healthier. What I realized is when I was on my journey that it didn't help for me to talk to other people who weren't on the journey.
Right.
Right.
100%.
Because like, it's not just preaching to the choir, it's getting support from people who've gone through the journey, who don't think you're an alien. Like I'm talking to you guys and I feel like seen, heard, loved, right? I don't feel like I'm an alien.
And like you said, back in the day, you had easy access to a community in real life living in New York City.
Sure.
But now we don't have any excuse because the internet it's got everything for everyone. You can find your tribe no matter how obscure your interests are.
Right. But like you said, you have to be the one to raise your hand or to reach out.
We have amassed a big following of new and expecting mothers since having our little boy, Max, who's over here in his pack and play. So there's a lot of concern around the safety around eating sprouts. And even I get worried sometimes, like, am I doing this right? How do I know they're not moldy or rotten?
Yeah, I think Jimmy John's had a scare years ago.
The sandwich place.
Jimmy John's sandwiches stopped carrying sprouts because they made people sick. And now every time we mention it, that's the question they ask. Aren't they dangerous?
Yeah. I mean, let's just say there's a book I recommend people read or listen to on Audible, Dr. Michael Greger, How to Survive a Pandemic.
Okay.
Right. And he talks a lot about, food safety. One of the top wellness blogs, Wellness Mama.
Sure.
Right. Sure. So Katie Wells, I interviewed Katie for my book.
Yeah.
I'm on her podcast.
Nice.
She recommends sprouts and broccoli sprouts, etc. Michael Greger says this in the book that when they were swabbing houses, and they swabbed the kitchen sink, and they swabbed the toilet,
Yeah.
the toilet was safer than the kitchen sink if
Right.
there were animal products in the kitchen sink.
Right. I've heard that.
Wow.
Oh, it's gross.
Right. And so what happens is, when you're in a place where there are contaminants,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know the specifics of the Jimmy John's thing.
Right.
What I can tell you is that if you buy sprouts,
Yeah.
or sprouting seeds
Yeah.
from a source that are testing for pathogens,
Yeah.
and you are sprouting on your own,
Yeah.
right? And the number of cases of foodborne illness resulting from homegrown sprouts,
Yeah.
I have personally never heard of it.
Sure.
Just never heard of it. But I know of people who are getting sick from E. coli and salmonella, from meat, dairy, chicken, and those other issues. We live in a society that really throws out the baby, the beautiful baby with the bathwater.
Perfect timing.
And we need to be very kind of sensitive to the fact that do your homework, look at the cases and
Yeah.
see where they are. I wouldn't just go to a local market and buy lentils from the bulk bin in the back
Sure.
and throw them in the sprouting container and start sprouting them.
Yeah.
Right. Even though they'd probably be fine,
Yeah.
they might not germinate as well. I think if you're getting good sprouting seeds, they're being tested. Like for me, if I were pregnant or my wife were pregnant, we'd still eat sprouts. That's our recommendation. I will say is if something smells bad, don't eat it.
The nose knows.
Yeah, I mean that the nose knows. I definitely, and you can look. I did a post on my Instagram where I showed root hairs,
Sure.
which actually looked like mold.
Yeah.
But they actually were.
I did see that. I did see your post on Instagram. Yeah.
It's interesting. Sprouting is trending.
Right.
I mean,
it is.
it's like unbelievable. Sprouting is trending.
Right.
And
We're getting more questions about it. We're hearing more about it, which is why we had to have you on our channel. And you're an invaluable resource for all of us. So we're thankful that you're here to speak to our followers. We're going to send your book link out. We're going to post your Instagram, and we're going to get people coming at you because you are seriously the sprout guru.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. And to me, all this information was out there.
Yeah.
All I'm doing is applying myself and focusing on, the simple art of growing lentils or broccoli sprouts.
Doug, we could probably talk for an hour or two. We want to find your book, and we want to be able, our followers to find your book.
We'll link everything in the description.
We'll link everything down below, but how can we find you?
Most of my work right now, I'm just using Instagram.
Okay.
So it's at Doug Evans, DOUGEVANS, on Instagram. The website, and you can sign up for information at thesproutbook.com.
Okay.
So I'm doing that. My book is available, pretty much most online booksellers have it. If you live in a local, community, you can call the local bookstore and say, hey, order me a copy, of the book. And if you want to support a local bookstore, I'm all for that. I just want to put a shout out to Dr. Jed Fahey, the PhD professor at Johns Hopkins University, who really discovered that broccoli sprouts have the highest amount of sulforaphane and has continued to do the research around their chemoprotective properties and the impact that they have on health and wellness. You guys have the best day ever. I'm so grateful that you reached out. I love you guys. I'm so happy that we did this.
Thank you.
So
Likewise,
much.
Doug.
My pleasure.
Everything out. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this video. We had a blast getting to know Doug in person. I think we really need to go stay in his yurt or in one of his Airbnbs on his compound out in the desert. Thanks also to Sproutman for sponsoring this video. They have it all figured out when it comes to quality seeds and sprouting materials. We're gonna include a link and a discount code for you guys.
If you like this video, you know the drill. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join us here at the Eat Move Rest headquarters. Click that bell to make sure your notifications are turned on. And as always, leave us some love in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up, and you can follow Dusty and I and Mr. Max daily as we sprout our way to better health on Instagram at Aaron Stanzik and at DB Stanzik. Until next time, eat, move, sprout your best. Bye guys. You're our little sprout.
We're Dusty, Aaron, Max, and Bo, and we're the Stanziks.
We aspire to live a plant-centric, faith-forward, healthy lifestyle and welcome all of the adventures that accompany it. Join us every week as we blend, chop, juice, run, lift, rise, and master our minds in between on the ultimate quest to find better balance, deeper connection, and true happiness within.